Director Jeffrey Lewis from the City of Muskegon for Police and Fire. We're in the middle of winter, January. And what's going on? Behind me right here, Muskegon Lake. It's beginning to freeze. We have ice. We have the river here that's also forming ice, but yet it's not safe. From time to time, we see people go onto the ice. Sometimes it looks safe from the shoreline, but it is not. We recommend, if you go onto the ice, a lot of experienced ice fishermen know where it's safe to go, what the depth of the ice are. And generally, we don't have a problem with the experienced, fisherman that knows what's going on. But on the other side, we have children that see people on the ice. They don't have the same information. They don't have the same knowledge. They may walk onto ice. They may go onto ice where there's a current, and obviously they fall through. When you go through ice in the wintertime, your chances of getting out are slim to none. That water is well below 40 degrees, and actually within minutes, you can succumb to hypothermia, and obviously drowning is to follow. We urge parents to educate their children on the dangers of freezing and thawing ice, whether it's at the beginning of winter, the dead of winter, or the spring. The ice is ever changing in our rivers, our ponds, and our lakes. And I can tell you this, there's never a time when the ice is completely safe. But there are times that people do go on the ice because they've measured the depths, they've assessed many other environmental conditions, that they go out there and they successfully go on the ice and come off without an issue. But generally, children, young teens, and young adults fall victim to this. They don't have the experience like the ice fishermen do. And so, ice, whether it's thawing, freezing, or it's static, it's been there for a while, is dangerous. But let's talk about something else. In the winter, it's a joyous time. We're in the winter wonderland here in Michigan, and there's a lot of winter sports, and one that attracts especially children is sledding and tobogganing. And recently, I'm sure you heard of this, to the south of us, there was a young individual that got onto a sled and hooked it to a vehicle, and that seemed like a really fun thing to do, but it ended up in tragedy. The young person was thrown from the sled into a fixed object, and they were pronounced dead at the scene, simply because we took just a fun activity such as getting on a sled, being pulled by a vehicle, and it ended up in tragedy. Anytime, I recommend that you never pull a sled behind an ATV, a vehicle, or even a snowmobile. There is potential to great harm to that person on that sled because they have no control. And as we can see here just recently, we had a young man perish in a vehicle sledding accident. But it actually goes one step farther. We have many hills in our city and in our parks where sledding is permitted. But I'm going to tell you a few things that you need to do. When you go to these places, whether it's a park that allows sledding or you just find a nice hill to go on, make sure that that hill is a snowy hill and you've looked at it and you feel comfortable sledding down it, and it's not icy. Icy hills can cause injury to the tobogganist or a sledder. Sledding down the hill, you have to have a safety area for that sled to slow and stop. With no fixed objects, it cannot be near a road or a parking lot where vehicles travel, or you'll find yourself going right into vehicular traffic, and obviously a sled is no match for a 4,000-pound car. Look at the hill. Make sure there's no rocks, poles, or anything else that the sled could strike with a child. Most sleds, none that I even know of, actually have brakes, so once it goes, you don't have much choice except to either fall off the sled or just ride it down until it stops. So these are very important tips with toboggans and sleds, that it's a seasonal thing. Sledding and tobogganing are short-term, so to speak, so you never really get proficient at these activities, and so you only do them a couple months a year, so it's really hard to understand all the dangers that are related. Here's something else too, is young children, as far as headgear. When you're sledding or tobogganing, skiing, or snowboarding or anything like that, even adult and child, wear some kind of headgear. There's padding out there available for your elbows and your knees, because this can be a dangerous recreational activity, more so than you think, because what you perceive to happen, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So some of the equipment may help you if you are to fall as you're walking up the hill and hit your head. You know, headgear can save you from having some kind of head injury. So make sure when you're out there sledding, whether you're tobogganing, you follow these safety tips. And also, let's go back to one more, ice skating. Same thing. The ice is as hard as concrete. If we have a young individual out there learning how to ice skate, they need to have some kind of safety gear on them, such as elbow pads, knee pads, and some kind of a helmet, simply because you know they're going to fall, and those injuries can be permanent. And they're getting with ice skates. Know the surface that you're on. It's so important that surface, you know, maybe if it's a couple inches thick and it's been put into a park as just an ice rink, that's fine. But if you're on a pond or some kind of a waterway, you have to know the condition of that ice, how deep that water is, how thick that ice is, because a lot of kids don't know the difference between, you know, a man-made ice skating rink and thus a pond that has been shoveled off and appears as a skating rink. So I hope you follow these safety tips with tobogganing, sledding, and ice skating, because we want to all see in the spring. Thank you.